I got control. 40-some years, and just got money. I thought you told. Good job. More than one person. Two, you're teaching.
Good to see you. How's everything? That's son of yours? Still down in city
Well, welcome everybody. Really pretty. We got a great crowd tonight. Super excited because we've got three outstanding individuals that we're going to induct tonight. But before we get to that, I guess let me introduce myself. My name is Andy Hensley. I'm the Director of Student Services here for Shelbyville Central Schools. I've been here as an administrator for 21 years. I've been involved in the Hall of Fame since its first class. So it's very near and dear to my heart, and I really enjoy this induction, and certainly tomorrow night I enjoy our tailgate that we do. But tonight we're inducting three exemplary individuals into the Shelbyville High School Alumni Hall of Fame, and John Jack Horner, class of 1975, Willard Kurt, Shelbyville High School class of 1930, and Jack Krebs, SHS class of 1958. Before we get started, I do have a few people I want to recognize that are certainly very important because they're supportive of the programs that we do, and I think it's important to recognize them. The first is our superintendent, Shelbyville Central Schools, Superintendent Dr. Matt Vance. Assistant Superintendent Kathleen Mills. We'll recognize our board members. I know we got a couple here tonight. I'm super happy that they're here. I'm going to read all of our board members. Our current board president is Mike Turner. Our vice president is Mandy Button. Also members Andrea Lee, Dr. Catherine Geringer, Dr. Jim Reese, and we have two board members that are here tonight, and Dr. Julia Grushoff. Dennis Hearn. Representing, I know Gary Long is here. Gary. John Martin. Representing the Bill Garrett family, Bill Garrett. And Jan Kurt here representing the Gene Sexton family. That we have out there. We just got some outstanding folks that are in our Hall of Fame. And so we're just very excited about this class, but we're always excited about our past inductees coming back and being a part of the Golden Bears. So before we get too far along, I also want to mention our Education Foundation. I know one of our members of the foundation is assistant principal for Colson Elementary, Amy Snow. Amy back there. The foundation, a lot of you might not know this, but we do have a Shelbyville Central Schools Education Foundation. It was formed in 2016, and it really is a great foundation, and it supports a lot of things that people might not realize that happen during the school year. A lot of opportunity grants for teachers, a lot of grants for teachers to fund some things that maybe we don't have the funding to support a certain thing, and it kind of comes in and helps supplement that, so the teachers don't have to shell it out of their own pocket all the time. But it also funds some of our programs, like it kind of co-sponsors and helps the Alumni Hall of Fame, so I know I'm very appreciative of that. But they have probably given out, I don't know, Andy, over the last probably 10 years, probably $200,000.
Yeah.
So I think it's fantastic. And if you would like any information on the foundation, please let us know afterwards. I'll be more than happy to give that information to you. There's lots of different things you can do. There's projects you can fund for teachers. It's just really a good thing. I do want to also recognize our Hall of Fame Selection Committee, and we have those that are here want to stand and be recognized. John Hartnett, you want to stand and be recognized. Reese from our board. High school assistant principal Bree Campara. And Shelbyville High School math teacher Rick Zimney. Because they really do a great job. Also, I do want to sing Jeff and John. I want you guys to stand up for just a second. So come on, stand up. I know you don't like the limelight, but I've said this before. We were on the radio. I don't know, it was Tuesday for a while with Giant FM, which is really good. But I said this. John and Jeff really do a lot of work behind the scenes. People don't even know, and help with a lot of the historical things that sometimes I don't have the time to get to, and they do a lot of work. Now, they bug me a lot during the year, but I like it. So I will say this. I talked with Scott Owinger, who's in our Hall of Fame. Scott is retiring from a successful career as superintendent of Plainfield in December, and I bumped into him at a conference in the spring. We were talking about Hall of Fames, and he said, the problem with Hall of Fames, if you don't have the right people in the community connected, helping that along, a lot of times they die out because they just do. I don't know how to explain it any other than that. And we're lucky because we've got John and Jeff. History, and they're so committed. I couldn't do it without them, and I just appreciate it. I want everybody to know that. So the vision of the Alumni Hall of Fame is to recognize exemplary Shelbyville High School graduates who contribute significantly to their community, their society, their professions, who achieve academic or professional excellence, and who positively promote Shelbyville Central School. I mentioned already a few, and Garrett and Sexton, and obviously Gary Long and John and other folks, but we've had some real trailblazers like Bill Garrett and Gary Long. We've had legal scholars like Marianne Ritchie, who was right on the cusp of being the first female on the Supreme Court. A lot of people don't know that. Shelbyville High School graduate. Judge Charlie O'Connor. We've got servant leaders like John, who was with the Boys and Girls Club for a long time, and people like Dan Theobald, who we inducted last year. Mentors like Phil Brown, business philanthropists like Joe Harlan and Scott Ball. Medical researchers, like if you want to read something really interesting, read about the Hayes brothers out there on the wall. Their cancer researchers were two brothers that were real instrumental in research for cancer. We've had great teachers and coaches like one of my all-time favorite, Harry Lairdy, and Gene Sexton, and Scott Olinger, and Jan Asher. I mean, the list goes on and on, but we just got, it's really amazing when you think about some of the people that we have. But our Hall of Fame really does represent the exceptional qualities of our graduates and the impact that they have on the community, and the impact that they have on the school, and service to others, and all those things that we want our students and our kids to have and carry with them. So again, tonight we're going to recognize 3 outstanding graduates who represent the type of character and service and perseverance and work ethic that we hope all our future graduates will emulate. So now, I'd like to introduce Bree Campara, Shelbyville High School Assistant Principal, and she's going to introduce our first inductee tonight.
Use the mic. All right, so sorry about that. Our mic is not working tonight, but we'll speak nice and loud. So our first inductee this evening is John Jack Horner, SHS class of 1975. Jack's Hall of Fame plaque reads as follows. A dedicated leader in Shelby County, Jack served with a heartfelt commitment to enhancing the lives of others. His efforts to improve healthcare in Shelby County and beyond have been truly transformative. After graduating from Shelbyville High School in 1975, Jack attended Purdue University's College of Pharmacy. He graduated in 1981 and then returned to Shelbyville, where he worked as the manager of Hook's Drug Store. In 1985, he joined Major Health Partners, where he spent a total of 40 years. For the last 17 years of his tenure, Jack served as the president and CEO. Jack played a key role in developing the MHP Medical Center, the MHP Community Health and Wellness Center, the YMCA, and the Sue Ann Boardman Nephrology Center. He also led the successful implementation of one of the first electronic medical record systems at a community hospital, which revolutionized patient care. Jack's vision and leadership have significantly impacted Shelby County and Major Health Partners. In 2019, he was named Person of the Year by Shelby County Senior Services and received the Distinguished Service Award from the Indiana Hospital Association in 2020. He served as Central District President of the Indiana Healthcare Association from 2014 to 2015. In 2024, he was awarded the Sagamore of the Wabash by Governor Eric Holcomb. And in 2025, he was recognized as a distinguished alumni by the Purdue University College of Pharmacy. We are grateful for his contributions, his forward-thinking approach, and his genuine care for others. Jack's legacy will continue to inspire us for years to come. Jack has 3 children: Allison, a graduate of the class of 2002, Jessica, a graduate of the class of 2003, and John, a graduate of the class of 2008. Please welcome John Jack Horner, SHS class of 1975, to the podium.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Very kind introduction. Thank you. I want to thank the SHS Hall of Fame Committee, Selection Committee on that, and the other members that we had for this, because this is quite an honor. Bestowed upon me, one of the more important honors I've had in my lifetime, so I very much appreciate the committee. It means a lot to me. I also want to thank Superintendent Vance for what you've done for the community on this. The administrative staff you've put together, the teachers, the educators that we have, the entire staff, to not only continue the quality and excellence that SHS has had, but to really elevate it. So thank you for all that you've done. Also want to thank the school board for what they do. been very blessed in my life. Very lucky on that. My parents taught me values, things about life, and one of the most important things they taught me was the value of education. I understand not all people had that from their families, but I learned very early from my parents the value of an education. I also had two brothers as mentors. They're here somewhere. My brother James, the oldest, class of '69. My brother Bill, class of '70, SHS grads both. Their wives are here tonight. Both graduates of SHS, I won't mention their years. Graduated on that. My brothers played a big role as a mentor on that, being the youngest. I have the ability to learn from them and to aspire to be like them. I had 18 years of formal education, 12 of them here at Shelbyville Central School, 6 of them at Purdue on that in pharmacy. And SHS prepared me well for Purdue, for the future. Prepared me very well. Things like the chemistry and math, yes. The important components that you take up, I was well prepared for that as I entered pharmacy school on that. But it goes much beyond the chemistry and the math. It goes to the activities outside of those that were very formative in my life. It prepared me for life. The friends I had, John, you and I played ball who knows how many times on that. The outdoor activities we had at school, the sports. I see many of the great sport athletes that we've had, like Gary and others throughout here. Jack on that sports had so much on that. The friends you made in school, the key components that they played on that. The extracurricular activities. I was in the band. I had club participation. A lot of times when you're at that age, you don't understand how much that's formed in your life. But it's just played an important role in my life and making me so blessed. I was so blessed by the hospital, the opportunities. President of the major hospital board, Jan is here, the opportunities. John Coffin, our vice president. Not everybody gets those opportunities. And I've certainly been blessed, both by my family, by my school, by my career opportunities that I had. I had many mentors from SHS that I had. And I can remember one incident specifically 54 years ago. Just started here in this building, freshman. You always have high anxiety. Some people will remember this because they've heard of this for me, and it's been a forming piece in my life. But brand new, first week of school. I enter. Obviously, you have high anxiety as it comes. It was down the hallway by my lockers. Here came Big Bad Bob, or use his name. Obviously, going to show his alpha here in the beginning of school year. Bob was over, had his army jacket, hair down on his shoulders. His brother was in Vietnam at the time, so that was a mean-looking army jacket he had. Big Bad Bob was there, and another freshman friend of mine got stuffed in the locker by Big Bad Bob. Banged the door shut, pushed into the locker. Great, this is gonna be fun. Okay? Obviously, I was very much intimidated by Big Bad Bob. Wasn't 2 weeks later, I'm in the hallway outside of the cafeteria. Here comes Big Bad Bob again. He takes me and pushes me against the wall. Whether it was my back or he reached around, he pulls the fire alarm. Bonnie's there looking. A young lady who I knew was just kind enough to report that it was Jack Horner who pulled the fire. Great, thanks, appreciate it. So of course, my next class, here comes the office assistant. He is paid as a teacher. Excuse me. Please report to the office. I go into the office, you should be over there and have glass. Okay, so I'm sitting there waiting for the assistant principal in charge of punishment. Okay, walking by, right out there past, and there's Big Bad Bob. He took a good look at me. I don't think Bob was headed to the library. Class. I don't know, but he took a good look at me. And body language told me, you better take responsibility for this. I think Bob was on strike 4 or 5 already on things. So, the assistant principal, I tell him the story. He doesn't buy it. Okay? He doesn't buy it. So I'm gonna be suspended, I'm gonna get waxed, all right? I can't tell you who it is, okay? And of course, when I get home, those were the days the old man didn't call the school. It was your fault, no matter what you were told, okay? So I thought, well, take wax, take suspension, go home, get it, okay? My mom will at least protect me, I know it's or face the wrath of Big Bad Bob and spend a couple classes in a locker, if not worse. So all the punishments out, and in comes Mr. George Boyd, the principal at the time. I don't know how many of you remember that. This was 54 years ago, George Boyd was principal. And he said, what's going on here? I told him my story. I said, Mr. Boyd, I can't tell you what really happened, but I didn't do it. I didn't do it. And I can't tell you who did it because I'll be killed. And my 140 pounds is not going to wrestle with Big Bad Bob. There was no choice. And Mr. Boyd said, I believe you. Going back to class, I believe you. That's the first time anybody than my own mother had ever believed me. That's the truth. And belief in an individual instills confidence in an individual. Someone believes in you, makes a difference in your life, a big difference in your life. Because by instilling confidence and belief in yourself, that's what really kindles the flame inside of you for achievement and success in life. Without that confidence, that self-confidence, that fire for achievement or that fire for the drive for success is very difficult to attain on your own. I know it made a great difference in my life in what this as an educator and belief as an individual did. Made such a big difference in my life. Educators, you in this room, the majority, such a noble profession. Just, I don't know how else to say it because it helps shape character. It helps the individual. So, outside of their parents, nothing else more than educators do that. All of education is the profession that creates all other professions. No matter what profession you're in, the educators, whether you're a lawyer, or a pharmacist, or a hospital, or an engineer, it's educators who created that. I think sometimes we could forget that, and they create that in multiple ways. As I say, I had the mentors who taught me the math, chemistry, physics. Mr. Murphy's one that sticks out, who was very good on that. And he taught you how to build a boat. He taught the engineers how to build a boat, but just as important. I learned to yearn for the immensity of the sea from people like Louis Kuhn and Mr. Phelps, who taught us the classics in literature beyond the education of math, chemistry, etc. And that wholeness of that makes such a difference on those formative years in your life. I get concerned right now because I see many changes that appear to be occurring on both the state and the federal level, the government levels on that. And as these changes are being implemented, I hope our state, our federal leaders keep in mind the importance our education system plays in the development of our future leaders. I am very, very concerned with what I'm reading on these changes. I'm confident everyone in this room was affected by the education system that we have. Everyone in this room was improved in their life by the education that they have. It's vital to maintain these services for our future leaders. Without these activities, without the chemistry, without the physics, without we're going to see a significant lack of leadership development in the future. And I'm worried some of these changes that are being proposed are very short-sighted in nature. Especially in communities like Shelbyville. So that concerns me, and I hope everyone in this room takes an active role in reinforcing the importance of the value of education that we have. I better finish it out. My dad was a minister, my brother Bill was a minister. I had to give him the Colts play at 1, remember? Okay. My children are all graduates. They all went on to grad school. They all went to Purdue. Spread out of grad school, they all graduated from here. Jessica, my little daughter, in education, she's an assistant principal. My oldest, Allison, did early childhood development and autism. John, my youngest, John went for the money. He works here. My oldest, after went to IU, that was painful. He got a good education there on that. So I'm very proud of the ones that went into education and went into service to others. And much of that was from their education that they had here. All learned that. So I'm very, very proud, very grateful. My grandson, my youngest grandson is here. Stand up, Blaine. Blaine got stuck coming tonight. Wasn't sure he asked his mom, where do I gotta go? Papa's getting into the Hall of Fame. This is classic as you could be. Blaine asked, Hall of Fame of Wrestling? He's been watching the WWE. Okay. His mother told him, no, it's not that. And he said, That's good, because he'd be toast. Yes, I was, I'm afraid the Rock would make toast of him. Then Jesse asked him, well, Pavlov was a wrestler on the big timer. What would his name be? Pavlov Jack. Big Jack, Big Stelly. Thanks, buddy. The influence of SHS will never be erased from my life. There's no doubt of that. I want to thank you all for what you've done for me. I want to thank you all for work, from our board members to the school, to the committee on that. And what I've been through has made me very proud, and I am proud to be a Golden Bear. Thank you. Now, don't get my belly on. Did you shrink that belly down?
Thank you, Jack, Bree. Now, this is one of my favorite times. This is the, I call it like the open mic night. So this is an opportunity now for any members of the audience that would like to stand up and maybe tell a little story about Jack or an experience with Jack. There's an opportunity to do that. So I'm going to kind of open up the floor for anybody that would like to tell a story. Don't be shy.
Andy, that may not be a good one.
We are at a school, so.
I'm Jack's older brother, Bill Warner, and I'd like to say my mother and father have both passed away, but I would like to recognize them tonight and say how proud they would be of Jack and the contributions that he has made to the city of Shelbyville and to the people in the surrounding area. And this would be a very proud moment for them as it is for his brother Jim and myself. Thank you.
Yep.
I would just say, on behalf of John and I here from the MHP Board of Directors, we can't thank Jack enough. We've been lucky enough, well, John's been lucky enough to live with Jack and all kinds of things that we can do. But I would say professionally, we've been very fortunate in this community to have Jack as the leader of MHP. Not only did we be fortunate enough to develop and build a brand new campus, but as was mentioned, the YMCA, there's been a lot of work on social determinants of health, which this community is really in need of. And so it's it's one of those things that's not a moneymaker, but it's the right thing to do. So we've been lucky that Jack's really spearheaded a lot of good programming and a lot of good service lines for our community. And not only for Shelby County, but really all of Central Indiana. It's well thought of. We attend a show meeting that we call it every other year, and it's very interesting to watch the interactions because everyone wants Jack's time and they're looking to him for guidance and they're looking to him and his staff for the leadership and developing the programming in our own hospitals. So we're lucky here and we can't thank you enough for all that you've done for the community.
Other story. I do have one story, not really that great. I don't know Jack as well as others, but of course, John, I was assistant principal here when John came through. I don't think John ever got suspended from school. John was over in the office, so he's got you beat there. I will say, Brian Claxton, when we wanted to recognize, one of the things that I enjoy when we do the induction is going to meet people. We can go to their home, Jack's house, Jack Brett's house, or I remember I was telling Jeff, one of my favorite ones I remember is several years ago, we went to see Phil Brown in Phil Brown's office. Of course, not long after that, Phil passed away. But I said, Ryan, I want to do something. I don't know what to do. He said, don't worry about it, I got it. So he set up, I don't know how he lured you to MHP. I think he said there was some kind of meeting that he needed your expertise, and he needed you there. And so there was quite a few people. John, you were there. A lot of people in this big boardroom, and of course, I think you were surprised. But my favorite line was, and everybody's leaving, and you looked at Brian and you said, "So there's no meeting?" That was really a neat opportunity. So, any other stories for Jack? All right, so I'd now like to welcome Shelbyville High School Principal Amy Dawson to the podium, and she is going to introduce Willard Kirk, SHS class of 1930.
Good evening. Our next inductee into the Alumni Hall of Fame is Willard Kirk, SHS class of 1930. Willard's Hall of Fame plaque reads as follows. Willard Kirk was a three-sport athlete at Shelbyville High School and at Indiana University. He won the 1930 Paul Cross Award his senior year at Shelbyville. In 2020, the Indy Star named Willard as one of the best basketball players in Shelbyville High School history. In 1934, Willard was the captain of the IU basketball team and the winner of the Balfour Award as the team's most outstanding player. In addition, he ran track at IU and was a 3-year starter as a pitcher on the IU baseball team. Willard was the winner of the Gimbel Award at IU, which was presented to the person with the best mental attitude in all sports. Willard began his basketball coaching career at Madison. He then coached at Terre Haute Garfield High School for 26 years, 450 wins, and led 2 teams to the state finals in 1947 and 1963. The 1947 team lost in the final game to his alma mater. Willard coached 3 Olympic gold medalists, Clyde Lavalette, Terry Dischinger, and Greg Bell. Willard was inducted into the Indiana High School Basketball Hall of Fame in 1973. Willard passed away at the age of 84 on September 19th, 1996. Please welcome to the podium Brian Kirk, who is representing the Willard Kirk family.
Amy and I spent some time in education at New Palestine together, and I told her to be nice because I had the last laugh here. First of all, Jack, congratulations, and what a wonderful job you've done for our community and the people in our community. And are there any fire alarms in here? Just keep it away. I'm representing Willard Kirk tonight, and before I get started, I just want to thank everyone for this, and a lot of people have been thanked already, so I won't go through the entire list, but I found one thing kind of funny. I talked a lot with Andy as we went through and tried to come up with some words for Willard this evening, and Jeff Bate was instrumental as well, and I have one here, John Hartnett. And the funny thing is, I had no idea John Hartnett was involved, I just knew he would be. Because everything. So I figured, I guess I hit that one out of the park, I guess. But anybody that I missed and everybody in this room, thank you for honoring such a great man that I'll describe to you in just a second. Before I do, I want to thank Kurt Ellerton. Stand up, Kurt. Kurt was instrumental in helping me in we spent a lot of time with Willard at his mom's house, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And the rest of the family, and any other family members, go ahead and stand up, any relatives. Willard's even way down the line. You can stand up, come on. Let's see, if I were in class right now, you'd all have attention. Anyway, and yeah, it's been a while since Willard graduated in 1930, so a lot of these things that you're hearing tonight about Willard, you may not be aware of, or maybe have forgotten. Jeff Bate and I talked about that earlier, about some of the great contributions that are made by people, and after a while, they just kind of pass by, and that's why tonight, I think, is really important, and this foundation that has been started to keep memories and alive. But I'm really honored to speak tonight about an incredible basketball coach, but an even better human being. And that's how I knew Willard. He was loved by pretty much everyone that knew him. He was a Shelbyville grad, and I think Amy mentioned he was selected as one of the 8 best players in Shelbyville history. Shelbyville basketball has a long history, and there's been some incredible players in that gym, Bill Garrett and so on. Willard was selected as one of the 8 best, if you could think about that for just a minute. Quite an honor. He played basketball and baseball in college. Back then, you could do that. He was a 3-year starter as a pitcher for IU, and he won, as Amy mentioned, the Ball Four Award as the basketball team's most valuable player, but also the Gimbel Award, which is the Mental Attitude Award for all sports. And as I'm researching some of this history, because Willard would never say this about himself, but I put those things together, and that just doesn't happen these days. You have an incredible athlete, and also with winning Mental Attitude Awards for all sports at IU. That's quite an accomplishment. But as I look through all the players that he coached and their accomplishments, it kind of makes sense where they may have received that kind of education and background. It probably came from Willard. He became one of the most influential people in my life. After he retired, he would go to state finals games every year. And after the game, we'd go back to Kurt's mother's house, Marge Etherton, a name some of you may know, and she's passed. But we'd go back and have Poppy and Peppy, which was popcorn and Pepsi. And on really bad occasions, we'd have dandelion greens, and I would not suggest that to anybody. Tried it once, that was plenty. But we'd talk basketball, we'd sit around at the kitchen table, and Willard and I would eventually end up in the living room, and we'd talk basketball for hours, and even into his 80s. I remember one morning, we talked until 3 in the morning. And through all these conversations, he was, Brian, and at the time, I was a chemical engineering major at Tri-State University, which doesn't exist anymore. It's now called Trine. But I was an engineering major, and he kept saying, Brian, your ideas, like I have any ideas, but he said, you need to try this coaching thing. You need to try this coaching thing. And after all of the conversations we had, eventually he talked me into what was an incredible profession, teaching and coaching. And it's been very rewarding. And I can't thank him enough for leading me in that direction. I mean, besides, who would want to be a chemical engineer and make $500 a day when I could teach and do that in 2 weeks? Should have paid more attention to Bill Murphy. All right. But one of my greatest memories of coaching didn't have anything to do with wins or losses. My first year as a varsity coach at New Powell State High School, he drove from Terre Haute and watched one of our games. And I had a PA announcer praise his accolades and announced his name, and he received a very long-standing ovation, and I remember that. And then after the game, I had him into the locker room, he met all the kids and talked with the kids, and I think he really enjoyed it, but not nearly as much as I did. And probably, like I said, one of my greatest memories in coaching was that day. And it was only a few months later that he would pass in a traffic accident. So I was really blessed to be able to spend that time with him. Now, you know what I forgot to do? I apologize to my lovely wife here. I was supposed to turn on the timer because she said, sometimes I get a little long-winded. I don't know what she's talking about there, but Willard coached at Terre Haute Garfield, which no longer exists, and think about that. Took 2 teams to the finals, School of 300. That's kind of Hoosiers-like movie material, and lost to Shelbyville and Bill Garrett, and the first time around. And the second time, I think he lost to an Evansville team. But taking a small school like that to the state finals twice is unheard of. He also won the Wabash Valley basketball tournament. Maybe you've never heard of that. I looked it up. I know about it now. It was the largest non-state basketball tournament in the country. There were well over 100 teams, and some of them were from Illinois and states, and he won that tournament at Terre Haute Garfield twice. 450 wins, and when you are a coach, you know, back then, not only did you coach basketball, you coached baseball, you coached track, you coached whatever they asked you to coach. So he coached many things. You didn't have trainers, you were your own trainer. Dennis Hearn shaking his head, yes, we've all been there, right, Dennis? And his knowledge, Willard's knowledge of the human body, and Kurt and I talked about this recently, but was phenomenal. I mean, he would sit and tell me this every time, you do this and get the lactic acid out of synopsis, and he's going on and on, and I'm like, I just want to coach basketball, you know. But it was amazing, and that kind of knowledge, I think that really helped him with being successful with his players. And I'll give you an example here in just a minute. But let me mention the 3 gold medal winners. And I know you mentioned the baby, but Clyde LaBelle was considered by a lot of people the first real big man that was really good in the state of Indiana. And he went to Kansas University, and in 1950 helped them win a national championship. And if you're watching Kansas on TV, once in a while they'll show some banners, and there's Clyde LaBelle's name hanging from the banners. And he came back to Indiana and was a sheriff at the end of his NBA career. He did play in the NBA. Terry Dishinger played at Purdue, averaged 28.3 points and almost 15 rebounds a game. He averaged a double-double in 3 years. Didn't play the 4th year. You weren't allowed to play as a freshman back then. I'm trying to hurry up. All right. But he went on to play in the NBA and was a 3-time All-Star in the NBA. Willard coached him. He went on to be an orthodontist, and he loved Oregon, and that's where he went to be. And he had a lot of patents and did some amazing things for the community. Greg Bell, a name IU fans might remember, was an Olympic medalist in track and field. He was a long jump champion. Willard coached him as well in track. And he held IU's long jump record for 26 years and the national NCAA record for 6 years. He went back to become a dentist after his athletic career. And I looked at these 3 gentlemen as examples of people that Willard came in contact with and coached and spent so much time with. And the neat thing for me tonight, or actually before tonight, looking all this history up, was seeing how much impact these 3 people had on their communities after their playing time. They went back and did special things, and you look at their obituaries, and they're a mile long, and it's just amazing. And you just know that was Willard's obituary. It was the same. And you just feel like Willard had his hand on all 3 of those people. Willard had 2 sons, Bob and Charlie, both played at Purdue. Charlie was selected as one of the top 100 players in the nation for the decade of the 1950s. That's amazing stuff as well. We'll finish it off here with a couple stories. I told you about Willard's knowledge of the human body. Well, he used to have oxygen in the locker room at halftime, which eventually became illegal, probably because of Willard. But it would help kids recover quicker by getting doses of oxygen at halftime in the locker room. He would tell me about that. He also developed an ointment. What the heck was it for, Kurt? Was it muscle joints?
Muscle joints,
Yeah, he did his own, he made his own, okay? And it must have worked because he gave the ingredients and how to make it to some veterinarian later who actually sold it on the market. So he obviously knew a lot about the human body and the way it worked, and that probably played in his favor. Now, when he was coaching at Terre Haute Garfield, his arch rival coached at Terre Haute Gershmeyer, Howard Sharp, long time ago, but if you're a basketball person, you know Sharpie. Sharpie kind of had a reputation, and it wasn't a good one, but he had a little reputation for maybe playing under the table a little bit. At Gershmeyer, there was a technological type school, which kind of made it okay for him to recruit. Willard didn't take too kind to that very well, so they were arch rivals, both in the same city, both legends, and I would give anything to have been to one of their games. Speaking of one of their games, they must have been such a bitter rival between the two that the rumor is, in a very close game, late in the game, Willard was coaching against Howard Sharp, and Willard had twins, identical twins on the floor. And one of them was fouled. And then there was a timeout. And supposedly on the timeout, or during the timeout, the twins switched uniforms so that the better free throw shooter could shoot the free throw. Now, we never got Willard to admit that, did we? We took that to the grave with him, but,
denied it.
what's that?
He never
He never denied it. That's all you need to know, really, about Willard. He must have really disliked Howard Sharp for him. That's all I can say. Anyway, I want to, once again, thank everyone for this opportunity to speak about who I consider, one of the most incredible men I've ever met. And thanks everybody for hosting this, and love you, Will. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian, Amy, 15 minutes.
I'm good looking.
Good looking, okay, yeah. That's what I'm going
We'll take a few minutes here and kind of. I'd like to tell a story about Kurt.
Brian pretty much covered it.
So he was very happy to come back to Shelbyville anytime he could. And one of my proudest moments was calling him to tell him that I made the Shelbyville Lady Bears team. And he always, at least once a year, would come to one of my basketball games. And I still remember his best advice for basketball was, when in doubt, shoot. I did it all the time.
Anyone else?
If I could just say, kind of a funny aside, I've known Kurt Etherton all these years, and it never dawned upon me. I always thought, why did he spell his first name so? C-U-R-T, Kurt. And then in researching Willard Kurt, I thought, wow, his last name is your first name. Spelled identical. Interesting.
Of course, Brian, I know Brian from years ago when I was an assistant basketball coach at Franklin, and he was at Newfound. We crossed paths a few times. But from a basketball coaching standpoint, what I would give to go back to 1947 and see that basketball game, the Golden Bears against Willard's team, I bet that was a game
football game, but that was just. Eagles gave them a bat.
Yeah, I did not realize that high school was that small. But I did.
Friends over in Terre Haute. Tell me about it.
Still going on. Yes, it is.
Not quite as big as it used to be.
Anyone else? Thanks again, Brian. I'd like to now welcome Shelbyville High School Assistant Principal Kyle Green to the podium, who will then introduce our last inductee tonight, Jack Krebs, SHS class of 1958.
Our next inductee into the Alumni Hall of Fame is Jack Krebs, SHS class of 1958. Jack's Hall of Fame plaque reads as follows. Jack Krebs, a proud graduate of Shelbyville High School, was a four-sport varsity athlete in football, basketball, track, and golf. He helped lead the Golden Bears to the 1958 Boys Basketball Sectional Championship and twice qualified for the state track. For his athletic achievements, he received both the Paul Cross Award and the Aquinas Award. Jack continued his academic and athletic career at Butler University, where he majored in accounting and he played football and basketball under the legendary coach Tony Hinkley, and ran track for Coach Gavin Walker. At Butler, he was part of the undefeated football teams in 1959, 1961, the 1962 NCAA tournament basketball team, and qualified for the NCAA track championships in 1961 and 1962. Jack is the only five-time inductee into the Butler Athletic Hall of Fame. Jack began his professional career in accounting at Katz, now Katz, Sadler & Miller, then transitioned to retail, working briefly at Roderick, St. John's men's clothing store, and owning General Beauregards and card and gift shop. He later retired after a 37-year career as Secretary-Treasurer of Gene Belts, Shaylin Dodge. Jack married his high school sweetheart, Janice Betty Fuller. They have one daughter, Courtney, and a grandson, Jackson.
I've got all this written down, I don't know whether I can get it out right or not. One thing I'd like to say is, my bride cannot be here tonight, she's in the hospital. So I've gone with her since I was a sophomore in high school. And she's really a big part of my life. She is the part of my life. If you know the old school, we lived catty corner on the corner of Thompson and 2nd Street. The Krebs Grocery lived up above that. Grocery was the street level. We lived on the 2nd floor. This store later became O'Mara's grocery store. And now I think it's a vacant lot. This was across the street on, I think, the northeast corner. Besides the normal Krebs grocery business, the store furnished lunches for the high school students. And my first knowledge of the Shelbyville sports and the school system was I was about 6, 7 years old, and it was the 47 basketball team. My mom was friends with the school president's wife. They met in the alley behind their garage every morning to see if any of the athletes were in trouble or having problems with their student, their learning, or they chasing some girl or something like that. Many of the 47 team ate at our grocery store. The store provided lunches was for students. I remember Grandpa, who was about what I am now, he was about 80. And he and my mom would make various sandwiches, bologna, ham salad, ham, whatever. He would wrap them in wax paper, and the meat block was about like this. He would stack those sandwiches up like that. Then I walked in, grabbed the one on the bottom, and he would start chasing me around the store. He made the greatest paper wads out of wax paper. And where did they come from? Where did they hit you? My first knowledge of the school was the 47 basketball team. My mom my mom was best friends with the principal's wife. They met in the alley behind. They would discuss all the problems. Is any student in trouble? Bill Breck was one of the guards on the team. His dad was the principal. I'm losing my place here, you guys. Excuse me. I started, became an entrepreneur at, excuse me, I'm all lost here. You want to help me here?
So I grew up, my name's Brandon. I grew up listening to stories of Shelbyville sports and shenanigans all my life. As Dad said that they had the grocery store next door to the high school. Dad would always say that the first bell was his alarm clock, and he would run across the street. And so they get time for first period. And that he would, his mom was really one of the biggest sports fans, super fan, at the time. She would follow closely. There's a story that after our losses in the winter tournament in 47, she got a hold of Bill Garrett, gave him the walk for, and he went on to win the state championship. It's a little unknown hero of the 47 team. Dad always talked about how he played outside of the high school with some of the people that he knew from the high school. Some of his favorite teams included Gary Long and Jerry Bass, the Richardsons, and he would tell the story of all these guys playing
There were
together.
8 cousins, I think, or 7 cousins and me.
And he was always the last man out. He was also the guy that would throw the ball in to somebody, and he would always get perturbed that they would have the shot fired before he got to the 10-second line. So, he's still a little bitter about that. Dad always tells the story of how he lost his hair. He grew 11 inches in 3 months between his junior and sophomore year, I believe, or 8th grade and freshman year, and burned through his hair. Something
The
happened.
head went right through my hair.
And at the time, my grandmother and grandfather took him to the specialist in Indianapolis, and the doctor said, well, you've got alopecia totalis. And Dad goes, well, what does that mean? He says, total loss of hair. To which Dad said,
No shit.
yeah, he said it was the best week of being grounded he ever heard. He also says that one of the very first practices was memorable because he was always the first one into the locker room and the last one out. Now, you would think it was because of his hard work and dedication. Yeah, no, he didn't want anybody to know that he lost his hair. So they were out of a practice, and Dad was playing quarterback, and he somehow gets a quarterback sneak or running around, and guy hits him, and the helmet pops up, but Dad keeps on going. And he's going, and no one's following him because they're all seeing him. And he
The guy
says,
is looking inside the helmet.
He had many great teammates that I heard about growing up. Bob Coward, the Tittle twins, Jerry, Ron Richardson, Chuck Thompson. He went to Butler as well, Dan Thurston. He always spoke highly of their skills, their integrity, of the sportsmanship that they had, the camaraderie, and all of that he learned from Shelbyville.
We played in summer tournaments, and I may have been the tallest guy. And if I ever got to read out and chew it out, I couldn't get to the 10-second line before it was up in the air.
And a lot of this he took with him to Butler University. Played with some of the greats there, but he always came back and would play summer leagues here, and enjoyed that as much as his career on the court for the high school and for Butler University. I know for my father this is a huge honor. I want to say thank you to everybody who nominated him. Congratulations to the other nominees. Found out that Willard Kirk was a big, my grandmother was a huge fan of Willard Kirk, and he would come over to the grocery store when he was a student, and she followed his career all the way through, so that was always a fun little connection there, so thank you again. We really appreciate this.
Jack, I knew I was going to ask, said you threw the ball out, did Gary shoot it? Gary looks to me like a shooter. A shooter.
Like I said, I couldn't get the 10-second line.
It was more very fast than anybody.
Well, thanks, Jack and Kyle.
I need to say something. My name's been mentioned a few times. And Jack, I became a hurrying Hoosier because he didn't pass the ball to me. So I had to put it up. But, first of all, I want to thank you for that YMCA. That's why I've lived 86 years. I knew Jack. I was in Shelby Township. He was a Coal Scout with my cousin Ronnie Richardson. Dave Ross is here with the four of us. Jerry Bass, Dave, Ronnie, and we spent every Sunday together developing our sports that we all had good futures with. Thanks to those Sundays, I think a lot of it. But it was guys like Jack that really made us what we were. And there's always some talk about, well, who was the greatest all-around athlete? And my junior year, I got the High Point Award in track. I always thought that was the God-given athletic ability. Well, my senior year, Jack got it. And he was a junior and I was a senior, so he became the all-time athlete. Of course, Bill Garrett was one of our heroes. I told when I went in about Don Chambers being my big hero because they give Bill Garrett a standing ovation. I was 7 years old that they were cheering for him. So that was both Jack and my inspiration. We saw those guys on the fire truck when we were 6 years old. boy, that give you some incentive, but that, more about Jack. I never saw him get upset with any, we played, football together, he was quarterback, I was halfback, safety. Track and basketball, and this fire that you talked about, I know he had underneath, but you never saw it. He never got upset with anybody. I never saw him get mad at himself. I was always mad at myself about something. But anyway, he had the fire underneath, but he's about the nicest guy that after all the guys I've played with, Jack Krebs right at the top. I love you, Jack.
Right. Any other stories of Jack?
I would, as a young man, growing up in Shelbyville in the 50s and early 60s, Jack Krebs was somebody we all wanted to be. And he gave to a generation of kids, he, Gary, and Bill Deere, taught us that we could be anything we wanted to be, that we could be as good as anybody, we could win, we could challenge, and that was a gift that they gave to the following generation.
I will say a couple things. One, Butler University reached out to me, and the athletic department, they left some flowers. Butler sent some flowers for tonight, and really, if you think about it, and I know it's in the biography, but how many times? 4 or 5 times? And who is the only person that's in there more than 5? Tony Hinkle. So that is rare, and quite frankly, in the emails, I mean, Butler, in a lot of ways, refer to him as maybe one of the greatest all-around athletes that Butler University's ever had. 5 times, and helped me on some of these, but I know football, I know basketball, football twice, basketball, track. Yeah, and then it's an individual. Now, John Hartnett, I'm gonna make him tell a really good story about golf. And before you tell it, I do want to just say this. John and I had the pleasure of going to Jack's house and meeting Jack's daughter at their home over on the kind of the south side of Indy. And wonderful home, very gracious, and we were able to sit at the kitchen table and listen to, I could have sat there for hours and just listened to the stories that you told. But also took us up to your, I don't know, like golf shrine, I'm not sure. Shrine, all these things, stuff where I could spend hours just looking at pictures. But I really appreciate you welcoming us into your home that day, because that meant a lot to me. I know, John, you want to tell a kind of a funny story?
First of all, congratulations to 3 remarkable individuals. Congratulations to the Kirk family for all the tremendous success they've had. A great Jack Krebs story is Jack was getting ready for track practice one day. And, he'd already excelled in a number of sports at Butler. The golf team had 2 guys sick. Jack wasn't on the golf team at this time because he was in track. And one of the guys said, Jack, you gotta come with us this day. Just go talk to the coach and see if they'll give you the day off. And Jack said, oh, I haven't golfed in a while. I can't. He said, no, Jack, you gotta go. We know you're a decent golfer. So Jack goes with him to play that day and golfs, and ends up being the medalist.
Well, thanks again. That was great stories. Anyone else before we close the open mic? Any other stories? Well, let's just close with a few thoughts, because what's going to happen next, we're going to convene out here in the rotunda where we're going to unveil the plaques that are hanging. You probably noticed that we have duplicate plaques, so we've got a set that hang out in the rotunda area for everybody to see, kids, folks that come into our buildings. You can see those every day, and then obviously we send home a copy, a duplicate plaque home. But I certainly hope everybody leaves here inspired and leaves here proud of Shelbyville, not only obviously our 3 inductees, but just Shelbyville, the community, and Shelbyville, the school district. Because I really think that there's just a lot of good things that happen here. And I just appreciate everybody being here. I appreciate, obviously, Jack Horner, Willard Kurt, Jack Krebs, and really am proud of what you guys have accomplished. Proud that you are Golden Bears. So with that said, we are going to adjourn. We also have some hors d'oeuvres out there, so please eat those things before you leave. We don't want to have to mess with it. So eat out. But please, if you don't mind, we'll head out to the rotunda area for the unveiling.
It's okay, you're still able to stay. Yeah, it's okay. No more modeling stories.
Are we? We try not to. Oh, I thought this started at 6:30. Oh, I know. Everything's been up 6. That's just tight. Might have been tight.
So then they said, okay, we're going to these places that want people. They're not doing it for free. Yeah, with the handicap. Yeah. So yeah. Remember we go through trying to make it our forever home until we can't manage those stairs.